Please can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel. Hi everyone, this is Lori La Bey with Alzheimer Speaks Radio, and we are going to have a wonderful show for you today. But before I introduce our guest, I always like to give new listeners a little bit of knowledge about who we are and what we do and why the heck we're here. Bottom line, Alzheimer Speaks is about shifting our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort all around the world. And we do that by raising everyone's voice at all levels. And we agree to disagree at times in a friendly, heartfelt manner, because everybody who is on the show is filled with passion about shifting our culture in some fashion or another. So I hope you'll subscribe not only to our radio show, but our blog, our YouTube channel, our website, and so forth. You can access all by going to alzheimerspeaks.com. And there you will find resources, tips, and tools all throughout the website, from poetry to information on speaking and training to initiatives and projects like the Dementia Quick Tips, like Dementia Chats, memory cafes, becoming dementia friendly, and so much more. Now, I started this company because my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I just felt this overwhelming need to try to connect people, because our family was not connected and didn't have any knowledge of resources, tools, or projects that were out there. And so since 2009, we have been working really hard to change that and to connect people. So maybe you listening might be our next guest. And if you've got a story to tell, or a concept or product or tool you want to get out, please reach out. Just go to alzheimerspeaks.com. There's a big gold button at the top that says contact, and you can pick your choice of how you want to reach out to me. We also help companies design their brand footprint by expanding it through all of the content that we drive out. And if that's an interest, again, please reach out to me. Now, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs. The first is to the Memory Cafe directory. I love this. It is just a wonderful, wonderful tool where you can not only find a memory cafe in your area, but maybe you have one, but you don't know how to advertise it. Dave will get you up and running for free. Just go to memorycafedirectory.com. The other organization is Stall Catchers, and I find this fascinating. We can actually go to stallcatchers.com, play a game, and actually be analyzing real Alzheimer's data and pushing the needle forward. And so check them out. Again, that's stallcatchers.com. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you? I've got a couple of programs coming up, and I'm just going to highlight just a couple that are public. One is January 30th, and that is going to be Apple Pines in Vadnais Heights, Minnesota. That'll be January 30th, starting at 7:30 a.m. and going till 9:30. And we will be providing CEUs. And then I will also be doing a webinar for the Greenhouse Project on the 30th, and we'll be pushing information out on that. And on February 19th, another webinar for Educate for their 2020 virtual road trip. So those are just some educational programs you might be interested in. Lastly, just want to thank all of our listeners. You guys have been so great. You follow us, you like us, you share, you push our information out, and that has made a difference not just for us here at Alzheimer Speaks, but for all the people in your sphere who are in need of resources, tools, and products to give them hope and guidance of how it is possible to still have a good life with dementia. So with no further ado, let me introduce our guest today. Well, I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today. I have had the privilege of knowing Loretta Woodward Veney for several years now, but I just got to meet her in person this last year. And she has so much energy and is so much fun. And she is not just an exceptional care partner to her mother, but she's just an incredible human being. And she was honored by Johns Hopkins as the 2019 Trailblazer. And that is so well deserved and just is so fantastic. And she was also honored the Women of Valor Award in 2017. So this is one incredible woman that we're going to be talking with today that is just a mover and a shaker and full of positive energy and insights that you are going to be really glad that you are listening today. And of course, she's written 3 books because she's just like the little Energizer bunny, and she just goes and goes and keeps producing great content. She is a exceptional speaker on dementia and caregiving. And so if you're looking for somebody, check Loretta out because she is fabulous. So welcome, Loretta. I am so honored that you're here with us on Alzheimer Speaks Radio today. So Loretta, when we start out, I always like to ask every one of our guests how they've been touched by dementia. So do you mind sharing some of your story about how you've been personally touched by dementia?
Well, my mom, Doris, is such an amazing person. She was just an awesome mom. And so when you first start to see those signs of dementia, you forgot your checkbook when you go to this grocery store or something like that, you're thinking, wow, it can't be that. But of course, it is. And so for us, that happened in 2006 when, got her to the neurologist and, you just hear those horrible words, you're in the beginning stages of dementia, you kind of go, what? So I just froze. I had no idea what to do, who to call, what to do. It was like, it was just crazy time. But my mother was big, always on reading and gathering information, and I switched right to that. Do what she taught you and learn everything you can possibly learn about this thing. And it's horrific, yes, but there are things that we can do. So I just I went to I know they got tired of seeing me. I think I went to every Alzheimer's association gathering, symposium, seminar, all those things. I went one day, all day, a few hours, and I just tried to learn. And then people started asking me questions. And so I felt I was doing the best I could for my mom. I switched doctors at one point. I was going to be her advocate and speak for her when she could not. And, we've been inseparable, since the start of that. So you learn a lot over the last almost 14 years now. So I've tried to catalog everything and log things, and so that I don't forget, because so many things happen, behavioral changes, all that. So I always wanted to make sure that I had the best of everything for her, information, supplies, assistance, whatever we could get, I tried to do for her. So that's kind of our story.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. It's just helpful, I think, for the audience to have a little bit of a background. You've been on the show before. It was several years ago. What have you been up to since then?
I felt like 2016 when I was on the show, man, it seemed like such a long time ago. So not only did I meet you this past year, as you mentioned, that was a highlight, a huge highlight for me. But since 2016, when I first was on the show, my husband had just died a few months before. So I was, absolutely still in shock about his death. He did so much for my mother. They were inseparable. He would take her to doctor's appointments, and then they would go have lunch, and they just had a great time together. It was so much more than just a mother-in-law, son-in-law relationship. And so I was still so shocked by the whole thing, when he died. And I was thinking, wow, what happens with my mom? So I was still, in the midst of all that. And since that time, I've learned to get myself around. He drove me to all my presentations and all that. So I, mail books and I do, all those kinds of things. So since I was last on the show, I think I've done around 190 or so presentations around the country. And that has just been amazing. And I don't think I always remember every little town I've been in. What I do remember are the people and their stories. So we might have differences of, cultural background, religion, politics, whatever, but that disease binds people. So people are so open to share their stories when somebody comes to their town, and I try to stay. And it's not even about, selling books or signing books. It really is about listening to their stories, looking in their eyes, and, feeling their pain and, confusion and all that. And so I just love meeting the people more than anything else. So I have, talked to people on the phone, since then, and I've always been comfortable with people, but I've become much more comfortable, sharing all this, the stories and even the difficult ones to tell, because that makes other people open up as well. So that's one, thing, just meeting the people. And I think one of the other big things for me is, I don't care where you are in the process of this disease with your, loved one, you're always worried about finances, always. When I met you, when I was on the show the first time, I was still in the throes of paying a lot toward my mother's care. And so you always have that fear, well, wow, you're going to have to work for a long time to continue to save. So one of the most amazing things that happened since I was on the show last was after being on what they call the Maryland waiver program list, after being on that list for more than 8 years, my mother's name finally came up, which, gives you a sort of a subsidy from the state. In my mother's case, it means they accept her retirement check from the federal government as full pay for her care. And it was such a relief. I can't even really describe it, because, your greatest fear, no matter where you are, where you live, or what your financial status is, you're always afraid of running out of money, because this disease can just wipe it out, pretty quickly. So I had to move my mom from one group home to another. And I was, of course, you're always worried about that. They say never move them after they get in the routine. You're like, oh no. But I thought the first place I had my mom in was fabulous. It was called Mamie's Loving Care. And now she's in Life Springs Elder Care, which participates in the waiver program. And you're always so worried about these decisions that you have to make. But wow, I didn't think anything could top the first one. But Life Springs Elder Care is fabulous, and it's they have an activities director. They're always doing stuff. It's almost like you have to make an appointment to see your mama, and so that part's hysterical. But they engage them wherever they are in this process, and it's so close to my house. I'm there all the time. It's like I live there, and so many devastating things emotionally have happened. She didn't know me the first time I was on the show, but now, at least she knew my name. At least for a while, she didn't know our relationship. Now she doesn't know anything. She can't tell you what the name is or what our relationship is, but she still has that smile. So when I go in, she says, hi. So she knows me. She just doesn't know where from. So, a lot of highs and then the lows, but the highs for me, kind of outweigh everything else. And then once the financial burden went away, then that leaves you to focus just on the joy of being with her and spending time, and you're not so worried about where the next dollar is going to come from and that kind of thing. So those are the biggest things, more speeches around the country, meeting the people and providing help, and then finally becoming, financially set, if you will, in terms of my mother's care. So those are the biggest things that have happened since I was on your show last.
And those are huge things. And I love how you have just this contagious laugh and giggle and just aura about you. You just bring joy into the room and make people feel like I can do this. Right. Loretta can do it. I can do this. And, and it's funny, you talk about the tough times and the finances and the burden, and, we have those things hanging over us all of life, but it's just different when there's a chronic illness and when you feel responsibility for another. And then the freedom when all of a sudden that's shifted again, as scary as it is, it opens up another light. And, even though things have progressed, you, like myself and many others, have been able to find joy. I think to me, it's a higher level of unconditional love, and that we're sensing. And I still haven't been able to figure out how to put it into words, but it's just, it's a melt your heart.
Yes.
That just doesn't go away.
Absolutely.
So you talked about the financial challenges and things like that. I would imagine there were some other challenges that you had during this journey as well, if you wouldn't mind sharing those as well.
Sure. I think the craziest thing and the most difficult thing a lot of times is just watching your loved one disappear before your eyes, so to speak. So that whole thing of the person you spent most of your life with, no longer recognizes you. And that's one of the hardest things. And people say, oh, you'll get used to it. Maybe, but we have to recognize there's a big grief period when that occurs, the first time they don't recognize you, which was my 55th birthday, by the way, the first time my mother didn't remember me. And it's a horrible thing. And then the changes in personality, that's when you learn all of the patience and everything you need. And a lot of the people I meet in these presentations around the country is the question I'm asked most. How do you build the patience to not yell or scream or fuss, with your loved ones? And I always say, you have to remember, I know it's hard, but you have to remember it is the disease. It is not the person. So I think that is really the challenge, is still remaining present with that individual in spite of the fact that they don't know who you are. They're still in there somewhere. And I'm willing to wait long enough. She comes back every now and then, and I'm willing to wait for that, because a limited amount of time when you see that person that you used to know is worth all of the rest of it. And I think that's the greatest challenge, I believe. So
I think part of it too, with the disappearance and the loss, is that we focus so much on them changing. But I know for myself, I never acknowledged that I was changing too.
Yes, we do.
And that we're all evolving, and none of us are who we once were. But what I realized was that I was holding on for dear life to this woman I didn't want to lose. And
yes.
And yet I changed. My dad had passed. I mean, everything about our family had changed, and that I wasn't willing to let her change. And it made me realize how unfair that was. And not that she would have picked those choices and said, hey, sign me up. This is how I want to go out. I mean, no one's standing in line for that. But really, and it sounds like you found this too, that the core being is still there. The soul is still there.
Yes.
And it can't shine as bright or as often, but and it made me pay attention more. It made me be present more, which I think is where that patience comes from. And again, sometimes I'm still not so good with that. I think I'll have to work on patience, the rest of my life. But it has helped me understand that I don't control everything, and that I had to let some of those things go. And that was kind of like a big release of a burden too, to think, okay, I don't need plans A through Z anymore. I can be spontaneous. I can trust in myself and in my God or higher power, whatever you want to say, that I'm going to have to deal with whatever happens with my energy level, my finances, my time frame, my knowledge. And even if I make all those plans, I'm still going to have to adjust to that anyways. And so that was a really big challenge. But then again, I'm always kind of looking for the gift at the end. And I think that's one of the beautiful things when I listen to you speak. You always come out at the bright side. And not that you haven't walked on the dark side. I think we all have at times with this, but there are some gifts. What's the most important advice you would give to care partners?
I would say that, just be prepared for, every day being different. And, we think, you said the word control, you think, well, I'm going to plan for this. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to do that. And then some weird thing happens that you never saw coming. So, we always have to be prepared for the unexpected. And, the greatest piece of advice is because, all these unexpected things wear you down in a hurry. And so the greatest piece of advice I always recommend is you have to have a support system. And I hear people say, I'm an only child, or I don't. Find some friends, because you cannot do this alone. And all you have to do is, ask people. So what happened for me when my husband Tim died was my church put together, this phenomenal support group, for me, who has their own support group. But I did, some wonderful folks who, love me and, help me with a lot of the things that my husband used to do for my mom. And so you have to have that. They let me cry. They laughed with me. We did group hugs. You cannot get through this disease alone. And everybody thinks, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. That's when, we have all kinds of health problems, and we might even pass away before the loved one that we're taking care of. And so I don't want to scare people in my presentations, but if we don't take care of ourselves, we certainly can't take care of others. So the greatest advice is remember yourself, take care of yourself, take some deep breaths, and then hopefully we can avoid being so overwhelmed by some of the day-to-day things, because they can be very painful, as we're going through them. So that's the greatest advice. Just be ready, expect the unexpected kind of thing, and just remember every single day is different. So when I have a really bad day, with my mom's really struggling with something, I always say, tomorrow will be better. And it usually is.
Yeah, we always have another moment, to reframe
Yes.
things or do things differently.
That's correct.
I was a big one where I would beat myself up really bad, if I didn't stand up to the level of expectation I had for myself, for her, and I just would feel horrible. And I had to learn to let that go, that I did the best in the moment. It wasn't intentional.
Absolutely.
If I snapped, and that we always have another moment to do better, and we can learn from those things that we didn't get so right.
Sure.
And the other thing I guess I would add is, with kind of being spontaneous and being ready, is one of the things that I learned from it, and I think you have too, is that some of those detours can be really beautiful,
Yes.
pathways that you wouldn't have explored otherwise. And
That's
so
very true.
That could be really cool. What about your new edition of Being Mom's Mom? Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, and it seems like I just wrote the thing, but it came out the first edition came out in 2013, in February, so many years ago now, and so many things had happened between then and now that I felt it needed an update. So in some of my presentations, I had added the things about some of the apps that have helped me along the way, and some of the changes that mom had gone through, and some of the strategies that I tried to use, with that. And so I thought it was time to, add those things. The book is really based on, forgiveness and patience, and, having this strategies and all those kinds of things, being prepared. So I added a lot about the process of the preparation and the things that I'd learned. And one of them, of course, was to and I have no idea why I did this, but when my mom was diagnosed in 2006, I did not know I should put my name on everybody's list for services and things that we were actually entitled to. And you don't know that at the beginning. And for whatever reason, I waited till 2009. Well, of course, by the time I put her name on the list, there's 23,000 people on the list in front of us, and then you just wait. So I tell people, put your name on every list, that even if you don't need it now, because I said, well, I don't want to put my name on the list for the pens, the hygiene products, because she doesn't need it right now. By the time your name comes up, you will need them. And so those kinds of things. So I added all that in the book, to all the things I learned about preparation, getting all those health documents, the living will, all those things in place, the DNRs, whatever your loved one wants. You have to make sure you have that. So I wanted to make sure I went into detail with that. So I added all of the things that had changed with mom and how we dealt with that. And I thought that would really be helpful for folks. So it came out a few weeks ago in January. So
that's
happy about that.
That's exciting. It's funny when you were talking about the list. We just had a long conversation at our memory cafe about that, because somebody asked a question and then everyone who's been through the process is like, do it, get on the list, get on the list. Does it make any difference, Penny? Does it make any difference?
I'm telling you, I don't care what the list is, put your name on it, because, and sometimes these lists, you get on one list and then all these other services came about that you didn't even know you needed, like, hey, so yeah, because I was paying, for the day-to-day care, and then I was also paying for the, the hygiene products and other things. And then once you got, on the list, everything was included. So, okay, here we go. Who knew that? And so, and people, sometimes, well, I don't want to take away from other people. Well, that's what services are there for people to, to take advantage of them and of the services and take some of the burden off themselves. So I try to get people out of that guilt thing, about the lists, because they exist for a reason. That's why there's a Department of Aging.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it might be for adult day, or it might be for a housing community, and you can always say no. But it's better to have the opportunity to say yes, to keep your options open and broad, because you're going to learn things, and if you don't think it's appropriate at the time, you still can say no.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, is an empowering thing too.
It is.
Just because you're gaining knowledge as you're doing it, and even if you don't need it, somebody else might need it.
Somebody does.
Yep.
That is so true. And I've learned so much from this process, and people are, furiously taking notes, as I talk about, the various lists to look for and see. I always tell people, make a list of the things you think you need, and then, find the appropriate office in your state or county that can provide that service. So that's so helpful.
And it's funny now with Google, I mean, like back, I think when my mom started, that was 35 years ago, Google, the internet was out there, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But now you can just like type it in and go, there is something out there, or maybe that's something that needs to be created, or maybe it's called a different thing. But, you might connect with people who, have similar thoughts or who have gone through that process. I mean, you just don't know where the path is going to lead with those types of things, but it is very uplifting. Now, I have to have you talk about your Lego projects and your passion for it, because I got to tell you, when you said Legos, I'm like, what? I mean, that's just kind of reaction. And then I've been seeing these posts on your site, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I the one where you're building the cathedral, and it's just like, I mean, and then you've got your small groups, and then what you do with your mom, and even in the car, and I'm like, oh, people have got to hear about this, because it's fantastic, and the Lego company should be endorsing you for all you're doing. So please tell us.
Yes, indeed. So, pretty selfish reason for all this. So, one of the greatest bonds I had with my mom as a kid was, spending lots of time building these Lego projects. And, I had no idea as a child how, children, we don't realize this as children, that how expensive Legos really were. And my mom, as a single mom, she spent all this money, buying these, little bricks. But, she wanted me to use my imagination. So I didn't have all the sets like they have now. We just had the plain bricks, and we would build all day. And I just loved it. We laughed, and she took pictures of everything. And I held on to that. So, how kids get older and they give away a lot of that stuff. I never gave the Legos away. So I started using them in my work environment. I'm a security person, so I was doing tabletop exercises for emergency plans and things like that. So I always had them in the car. And as probably 2007, 2008, not long after she was diagnosed, Mom started to be really fidgety in the car. So I threw just a whole variety of Lego bricks in this Ziploc bag and kept it in the car. And one of those little bases that you build everything on. And that's kind of how our, reuniting with Lego bricks came about. And I started to build all these little Lego fidget toys for her. And, here's one, and it has doors and windows. She can still open doors and little windows. And I have little Lego people inside it. And what I love about, this is that it still allows her. There are a lot of things she can't do. We all get that in this disease, but she likes the bright colors. And so I have some pieces with faces, and she likes spinning it around. So I have a whole variety, a bag really, of these fidget toys that I made for her, and you can see the light come on in her eyes. And people think I make that up. So when we were interviewed by the Washington Post, the photographer came to take photos, and mom hadn't really been recognizing anybody's in the room with us until you get the Legos out, and then she comes alive like, hello. Like they just walked in, they've been here for 2 hours, and the photographer was like, wow, I thought you made that up. She just comes back to life, and she starts to build, and I bought her these doors and windows, and she says, I'm building a house so I can go home. And that's what every dementia patient wants to do. They want to go home. So if I can give my mom some security in that, I have all kinds of little things she can, pull on. It uses, it still has her dexterity in her fingers, and she can pull and push and all that. So I have all kinds of different varieties, and probably 10 different ones. And I sold them on Etsy for a while, and I got kind of too busy to keep up with that. But some of the friends in church groups and some of the other memory care facilities that I go to, I have built a variety of things. But for me, the fact that she doesn't know my name or our relationship, she knows those Legos. And so I have kept with that part of our life, and I've been able to keep that alive, the one thing I could still hold on to. And so in 2014 I became certified in something called Lego Serious Play, and it helps teams and groups communicate more effectively, and brings people together on their vision and mission and those kind of things. So I do that in a lot of organizations as well. And some of the adult day and memory care places that I go, I've done those as well. So really for me, this little teeny brick that's primarily, a kid's toy, although there are a lot of adult Lego fans, they're called AFOLs, adult fans of Lego, and lots of them out there. But primarily something that was built for kids really can still keep a lot of people together and focused and having fun in spite of a lot of challenges. So when I'm in the car with my mom and she's fidgety and all that, and you whip out something that's an instant solution, that's gold, right there. And so she smiles, and then she'll say, I did that. And that's like the best thing ever. And, because there's so many things, as I say, that, she can no longer do it, but I choose to look at the other end. So I still focus on all the things she can still do. And that includes, having some fun, some calm, some continuity amongst, this little thing called Lego. And I never knew, when we were having all those hours back then playing and building and enjoying each other, who knew that that would be the thing that would continue to connect us 40 years later. So
that's amazing. I remember with my mom, it would be coloring, and she,
yes,
and she would color with my daughter, who at the time was 3-5 years old, and I wouldn't know who was prouder of their coloring pages. They both pulled them up, and that excitement, that innocence, that ability to just be so present in that moment and feel valued and feel purposeful. I mean, it's contagious. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do for another person, to allow them those moments, because it doesn't just feel them, it feels everybody around them. And
it really is. And I have so many pictures of her. I take pictures of everything because obviously I use them because I want other families to be inspired by all the things that they can still do. And so, when AARP did a feature on us for their caregiver stories on their website, they called me the entertainment director because I'm always going to find stuff. So I love that title. Call me whatever you want. It's cool. But the thing about the Legos is, she is so proud of it, the things that she has built. And as she's doing it, I take pictures to, show other, families. It might not be Legos in your family, but there's something, woodworking, sewing, knitting, something that they may still be able to call upon those memories and still enjoy. Maybe not in the same way that they did. And it's funny because I used to think my mom was just doing the Legos just for me, with me and, for me. But who knew she was having that much fun, I guess, or why it is one of the things that has stuck in her memory. And at this point, I don't care why. I just love that smile, that, she's having a good time. She's not anxiety filled. It doesn't matter what it looks like or anything, nobody cares. It's just that she's occupied, she's happy, she's smiling. And, as a caregiver, that's all you want.
Yeah. Or hopefully all that I think a lot of times people don't even know that they can attain that.
Yes.
But it's that calmness, it's that peacefulness that they have. And then when there's a level of joy on top of that, right. when you see them in that state, anyways, this is how it was for me. When I would see my mom in that state, it would put me in that state. And I would be so grateful and so happy that I let go of all the other grunge that I was thinking about, because it was just like, oh, this is so, it was just, thank you, God. That's as simple as it is.
Exactly. And that gratefulness, see, that's so true, because there are so many entries in my grateful journal that I have on my phone, and you can attach videos and still photos to it. And so many of them are of her, doing the Legos. And so, that's all I really need. But I do, I try my best to keep her busy, and they have an activity director, there at the group home where she is. And some of the other, I left enough over there that, everybody else can join in as well if they like to. So, when you find something that works like that, you certainly want to, spread it around and, all of that. The adult day program that I'm going to next Monday, when I went with them this past August, we did a huge Lego exercise, and to say it was a success would be, an understatement. We had the little kids building with all the different colors, and then we had the adults building with all the different colors. But then when we went to do the intergenerational projects, we had them use just the white bricks. Lego has a product called Lego Architecture, and all the bricks are white. And so when the relatives came, the parents or the children of the folks with dementia, when they came in, they could just look at the huge table that we had built the entire day of, Lego pieces, and they could see, all the white pieces on the table were the, older folks did with the young kids. And so it was amazing. All the people were taking pictures of this huge table we had done. And you walk away from that so accomplished. And a guy who doesn't participate in many of the activities at all, they can't get it. Right before we did the Lego thing, they were doing a game or something. He sat in the corner, didn't want to do it. But when we got the Legos out, he jumped up, he built this thing. When his daughter came, she said, "You did that?" Yes. He waited for her at the door with the thing. It was phenomenal. It was I almost cried. It was the coolest thing. But to watch the families come and says, "Y'all did it," because when they came in to drop them off, the table was empty, in the middle of the room where everybody has to walk by. And then by the time the day was over at 4:00 or whatever it was, the table was filled with these amazing, things that people had created with their imagination. And that's probably one of my best days ever with the Lego bricks. But watching the young folks, work together with the seniors was, it's just an amazing thing. And so it was the smartest thing I ever could have done, was focusing on the white pieces so they could see all the things that they did together, as a team.
Oh, that's neat. And I love the intergenerational piece. I love just the simplicity of it. I think sometimes people think dementia has to be so complicated. It has to be so hard.
Right.
And it's the simpler, the better for all of us, and
absolutely.
that we can find, because with Legos, I mean, it's kind of a sensory thing. And then you get to physically see, what you're doing. And then you get to hear from other people the accolades. And then when you're merging it with something else and it becomes even bigger, those are things that I don't think go away with any person. They're just kind of core values that we sometimes overlook and that are still there. And so brilliant. What are some of the greatest achievements that you feel, you've made as a care partner so far in your journey?
You get so many accolades, and just the emails and the notes I get from people, and you love those things when you're having a bad day. You want to go and look at them. And these are just ordinary people who have taken the time to write you to say, oh, you saved me, or you uplifted me, or whatever you did. And so when I do those presentations, I always talk about having a joy folder where you keep all those things that you can look at on the bad days. So I love the fact that I have that, and that people have taken the time to do that. And then there's been a couple of public acknowledgments too. There's an Episcopal Church here in the DC area that gave me a Woman of Valor Award in 2017, and that was pretty phenomenal. And when people recognize you for that, that's humbling in a way, because you want to do well in the sense that can I help a family be more confident in all the things that lay in front of them, give them some hope and, some information and all those things. And so you want to do that. And one of the things I always said I wanted to do was just to guide other people. And so this past December, Johns Hopkins Medicine in Baltimore named me the 2019 Trailblazer of the Year. And oh my, that was it was really amazing. I was very surprised. I found out about it a few months before, and I was thinking, wow, what? But I didn't realize at the time how big a deal it was. And, I invite people and all that kind of stuff. Like, wow, my daughter was able to come, and, she recorded my little speech, and it was amazing. And I was so proud because, when you think of what my goal was, to, provide information for others and help guide them through this pretty horrific disease, especially in the beginning. I mean, you don't think there's any way out of this or how you're going to survive and all that. And to say that, people say that I brought them hope. And so in their Trailblazer of the Year, acknowledgement, that's it in the background there, it says that, I have been dedicated to the advocacy of Alzheimer's patients and their caregivers. And that's all you want. You want to be supportive, and you want to help other people advocate. You don't have to have a bad doctor that's, making you feel worse than the disease itself. So, when you advocate for this person, you are their voice. And so, I didn't like my mom's original neurologist at all. And so, we were able to switch neurologists to that. So I try to empower people to, you're not stuck with this, be that voice. Don't let your person, be treated badly. I want people, I don't care what stage she's in, I want people to treat my mother with the dignity that she deserves. And, we have to fight for that. So any caregiver that I can empower to do that, I feel I've accomplished it. And so I can't even put into words how much I appreciated that award from Johns Hopkins. It was amazing, and probably one of the most beautiful things I'd seen. Like, wow, that's for me. But it will always be a reminder that I am doing the right thing, and this is my calling. There is no question about it. I love my job. I do. I love all the presentations that, I get to give and I work, and the people I work with. Love that. And I love all the Lego stuff. But being out there in the midst of people, letting them cry and feel whatever they feel, and, smile and give hope. There's a couple of seminars that I do where we dance around, and you could tell some of these caregivers that haven't danced in years, and they feel so free to, kind of do that. So that's, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know that of all the things that, God has called me to do, this absolutely is my calling. And I'm pretty, proud to have that job, if that's what you want to call it. But I love what I do, and I love just the look of relief sort of melting from the person standing in front of me. Like, you gave me a solution, and I really thank you. So that's some of the achievement, I think.
Yeah, well, and I know I surely felt that when I came and listened to you speak, and coming from another speaker who, hears a lot of people. I mean, Loretta, you're fantastic, and
thank you so much.
You make people feel so comfortable, and you use humor, and you walk in the audience, and you're down there with everybody, and you are one of the most open, kind, and vulnerable. I mean, you just say what happens, and but you come up with solutions on how to deal with it. You just don't go, oh, woe is me, this is this is gonna happen, but you come up with solutions to make it better, and you share those, and I think you empower your audiences to be able to walk out and go, I've got knowledge too, and I can share
Right.
it, because I just learned tonight and things. So yeah, fabulous,
That's really
fabulous job.
important. That is, when my mom escaped from her, group home, and again, I could have been mad, I could have done all these things, but like you said, I found a solution. I put the little tracker in her shoe, and you can run again, but I'm gonna find you this time. So you have to, get over the hurt or anger or whatever it is, or when things happen, but then you find that solution, so you're better prepared for the next event. So I try to impart that to other folks as well. So,
Do you mind, one of my favorite stories you shared was the suitcase by the door that you shared. Do you mind sharing that with our audience? Because I thought, what a brilliant idea.
So, one of the things that the dementia folks always want to do is go home. And so I have a lot of things that were in, I guess, this old trunk that my mom had, back in the day. So I have one of her old suitcases. I don't know why I never threw this thing away, but it looks old and it's not totally falling apart, but I put stuff in it, old stuff from back in the day, some jewelry and all kinds of things. And, as the sundowners comes to visit us in the evening, that's when I want to go home. She paces a lot anyway at this stage. I said she's going toward the later stages now. So I started putting the suitcases, suitcase by the door, because she always wants to, go home. And so we let her pick up the suitcase to walk around with it. She's not going anywhere, but she feels, like she's empowered, that she can go, and she has all her stuff. And that calms her down pretty much instantly. But it is a cool story. But, and, we don't want her to open the door and go out, but at least she has that, certainty that this is mine, it's my stuff, and I'm ready to go. And I can go home kind of anytime I want. And that's solved a lot of her problems. She still tries the door every now and then, but maybe it's because, she knows her belongings are right there, that she doesn't try it. I'm not sure why, but it has been really helpful, especially, middle stage, where they're going to go no matter what you say. Then let them, here's your stuff. We can go. Sometimes, we will walk out if it's nice. You can walk outside with the little suitcase. We'll get her in the car or whatever. But, all of these strategies that you could come up with for folks that, want to run off or run away. Because think about when you were a kid, how many times the kids say, I'm going to run away, and you pack all your stuff. You're just doing the same thing in reverse, here. But if that makes her comfortable, I'm glad I didn't throw it away. That's what I'd say. I like that. But it's a cool thing.
Great. Well, in wrapping up, why don't you share with our audience, what you speak and train on, and what types of audiences you talk to?
Sure. So I have 3 presentations that are really popular. The Being My Mom's Mom, which are kind of the things we just talked about, the patience, forgiveness, preparation, humor, all of those things in that presentation. And then I do Lifting the Spirit of the Caregiver, or Joys of Caregiving. It has a couple of different names. And that really does, as you pointed out, we are grieving for this person as they go through this process, and it's okay to embrace that. But we also have to have hope as well. So that it focuses on that, and still more humor and those kinds of things. So people love that one. We dance around in that one. We do a couple other activities in that to try to get us some mindfulness about our caregiving. And then another really popular one is the Amazing Tools to Lighten the Caregiver Load. And the purpose of that is to help people with apps, with things that help them get in and out of bed easier, the things that you can use to shampoo, their hair while they're laying down, and things like that. So, hygiene, you can still keep up with those kinds of things. And so it has a variety of things, activities that they can do at every stage. So that's a really good one, because as you pointed out, the internet's here, but not everybody has time to research all these things to keep you busy, keep you safe. And so we have guards for this and locking that up. So people are feverishly taking notes and taking pictures of the screen, but I love that I can do some of that research for them. So that's that. And then new for 2020, I'm going to be doing engaging activities for every Alzheimer's stage. So I'm really excited about that one. I've been doing a lot of research, spending a lot of money too, getting stuff for my mom to have some fun. But I want to take those on the journey with me to show people, have at the front, kind of show and tell. You saw my dog, I think, that my mother's little pet, the robotic dog that we have. Everybody loves that. And I'm an affiliate in that program now. So anybody that buys one of those, that's always a good thing. And so it's an honor to do that kind of research that you think is going to help somebody. So whether they're right at the beginning stage or they're, in the late stage, you can still do activities with them. You might just have to change the way you do them, or, the materials that you are using with them, but they can still do activities, pretty much up to the end of the disease. And so that's what I want to encourage people to do. Because people say, I go to a nursing home and they just sitting in the chair, not doing anything. Okay, well, bring something for them to do. So that's what I want people to focus on. So that's new for 2020.
Wonderful. You had mentioned the Grateful Journal. Is that an app that you use?
It is, and it is, and there's a free version of it, and it is simply Grateful Journal. Has a little heart in the center of it, and I love it. You can, there's a free version which you can't change some of the things, like it'll say, today was a good day because, and then you just fill in the blank, or I'm grateful for, and you fill in the blank. So, but I have the paid version, which you can change in things. I'm happy today because mom did whatever. And I love the fact that you can add video and the photos. And so I show a lot of it in the Lifting the Spirit of the Caregiver presentation. I show some of the categories that I've entered. And it's really cool. And I don't write in it every day, but several times a week for sure. And, a lot of it involves, my mom, of course, and all the things as I said, I'm grateful that she can do. So that's probably my favorite app at the moment. Is being able to write about and take pictures of what we're grateful for. And so you can always look back at the entries. That's what I love most about it, that you can go back when the day isn't going all that great, and you can look, hey, mom did that puzzle on Christmas Day. My mother did a puzzle and I was stunned by it, and then she talked about it. My cousin was there Christmas Eve. My mother didn't say a word. And Christmas Day, she talked the whole time I was there. And when she was pushing down the puzzle piece, I put the video on Facebook, and she says, I'm pressing down on it. And I just burst into, she hasn't said the whole sentence in a long time. And so that was in my Grateful Journal. She not only talked almost the whole time I was there for hours, and but she finished that puzzle, and she was so proud of it. She just stared at it. It was awesome. So that was my Christmas Day Grateful Journal entry.
Oh, sweet. Well, Loretta, I can't thank you enough for taking time to be with us. I love spending time with you, and I just honor all that you do and how you do it. You're just absolutely amazing. For our audience, you can go to lorettaveney.com, click on it once, and you will have the gift of Loretta right on your screen, if it's on the phone or the computer, whatever. But she really is just as authentic as you see her now. This is just who she is to her core, and she's just a joy to work with. So thank you for all you are doing for dementia care, and the wonderful example you're setting for all of us.
Yay!
Yeah, just really love what you're doing and appreciate your openness to share.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything for you, Lori. And I certainly appreciate all the things that you do too. Where would we be without you and all of your awards and accolades? And you have earned every bit of that. So, we're just as proud of you. And I mean, this is a fight that it does take everybody. So I love the fact that there's so many people, in this fight, until we find a cure, and we just keep going. So. But I'm absolutely proud to call you a friend and all that. So I'm so glad we finally met in person. It was just, it was one of the highlights of 2019. So that was awesome. But thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And best of luck in 2020. And we're going to hear more about your new program rolling out too. So
all right. I'll keep you updated. All right. Take care.
Okay. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sylvester here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.